Hi, I'm Mike Perlack with Underground Focus Magazine. As you've watched Digging Dangers videos over the years, you've grown accustomed to seeing helicopter scenes shot by local TV news stations. Down below, the camera pans over images of devastation caused by gas explosions. Explosions the result of excavation damage. Today, though, eyewitness news is no longer an exclusive of local TV stations. While many at the gas explosion you've just seen were eyewitnesses, you'll soon meet utility company workers that made the snap decision to become emergency responders. They'll tell you their story, all the while making you feel like you were there.
Oh my God, get her out of there!
I still didn't think she could make it because the flames were getting stronger and stronger toward her. Got the ladder up there. I could see him get her to climb on the ladder. He helped her down. 10 seconds after that is when the house was fully engulfed in flames.
Then I was able to climb up there, grab her, bring her down, and then carry her over to the side. And then as we were over there standing by the door, he tapped me on the shoulder 30 seconds later and said, "Look," and the place was gone.
We just heard the screaming. That was what made us jump up and run down the road. It was pretty crazy.
The homeowner doesn't yet realize how fortunate she was that her rescuers were there this day due to a damaged phone cable. Cell phone video footage of excavation accidents is not our only non-TV news video source. You are about to see emergency responder coverage of a gas line damage in Virginia Beach, Virginia. The Virginia Beach Fire Department conducted the interview with the dump truck driver as well.
The excavator was loading me up, and I was just sitting in the truck. All of a sudden, I just heard like an air hose busted, and I rolled my window up. As I rolled my window up, the guys on the ground just told me to move out. So when I started to pull the truck off, a big explosion came, and I pulled my air brake, and I jumped out the truck to the other side of the street. Other than my tail lights, melted and knocked my back window out behind my head and cracked my front passenger side window. Other than that, everything's okay. When I jumped out of the truck, I don't think I hit none of these steps. I hit the ground and got out the way.
A natural gas-fed flame in the middle of what is normally a busy city street makes for good viewing, even if a TV news crew never made it to the scene. You know what else makes for good viewing? Water gushing skyward at a rate of over 5,000 gallons a minute after an auger punctures a water main. The owners of the passing cars that sustain broken windshields might not agree with the good viewing claim. And wouldn't you know it, the excavator that hit the water main and the city which owns it both claim the other is at fault for this third-party damage. No matter who ends up taking the financial hit on this 12-inch main water strike, it will just be money down the drain. Do you ever recall seeing first-party damage? That's what happened here in Ontario when a gas company worker struck with a backhoe the gas company's pipe, destroying a home. There won't be any finger pointing between the excavator and facility owner here. Additionally, the line strike resulted in the loss of gas service to 1,200 homes. Sometimes, Digging Dangers must report on fatal excavation accidents. Unfortunately, that's true this year too. An electric company worker providing line clearance was situated in a bucket 30 feet in the air. The worker died from burns sustained after an auger, being used to clean out a hole from which a pole was just removed, punctured a plastic gas main. The gas was ignited by sparks generated by overhead power equipment along the aerial electric lines. There's a story behind every excavation accident that you've seen in a Digging Dangers video. Most of the time, we give you dates, places, and a bit of the story. This time, we'll let the people tell their own story, the whole story.
We were in the tent, getting ready to put this closure on, and we heard this boom. And my first thought was a semi, because there's semis coming in and out of here. I thought a semi blew a tire right next to the thing. But as soon as it happened, he looked at me and he's like, "What in the hell was that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then we heard a lady screaming.
I'd say our tent was here, and when we came out of the tent, You could see down there where that tree's burnt. That was our view, and we could see her standing on the second story. Just the rest of the house was gone.
I was sitting on the couch shortly before noon, and I heard the explosion, felt the explosion because it shook the whole unit. And I kind of had a hunch what it might have happened because I know that they were digging up the street and putting a new sewer line, and they had everything marked for NICOR comment, all that stuff. But when you hear something like that, you just knew what it was.
So we get out of the tent and we're running towards this thing while everybody else is running away from this thing. And I'm looking at him running like, what is going on, as we're tripping over bricks in the middle of the street. She just heard this noise and it flipped her bed up and slammed her into her closet. And she said when she looked up, she could see the sky, and she looked and seen our yellow tent. So she started crawling towards that, and she said after she crawled for about 2 feet, she realized there was nowhere else left to crawl. She said it felt like cotton because it was the insulation from the ceiling.
Jump! Oh my God, she's gonna die. Oh my God.
Running into that fire, I looked over to him and I seen him going in there with me, so I felt comfortable going in there. If I would have been by myself, I don't know what would have happened. I can remember vividly when we ran into this car, he went to the left and I went to the right, but we looked at each other right before there, and it was just like something between us. I don't know what happened, but he went one way and I went to the other, and we just knew what to do. So there was a car here, so then I had went this way, and I remember he went around the car that way.
And there's just a pile of what used to be the house.
The big thing that he could remember was the kitchen sink turned upside down, but the water still running out of it. It seemed like we were put there for some reason.
I mean, honestly, as we were coming up originally, I was thinking we need a ladder. That was the only thing on my mind. But we got up there, and I asked her, was anyone else in the house?
And she said, yes,
my
son.
Baby. So I'm telling him, this is a pile of rubble. I'm like, we got to start digging through. We got to find.
Yeah.
The son was in the house?
No, she thought he was.
Yeah. For some reason, she thought.
And then she said, no, wait a minute. I just took him to school or something.
So that's when
I went to get a ladder, and I looked over, and in the hole that they were down in, I could see an end of a ladder. But I'm like, the first thing I thought was, what if that's not tall enough? So I ran down to my truck to get the two-piece, the sectional ladder, and I sprinted back down here. But in the meantime, they did grab that ladder and put that one up.
They threw the ladder over there, and somehow, if you watch the video close, you could see me picking it up real fast somehow.
Oh my God.
There was little tiny fires when we first walked up to it, but these flames are getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Because there was people coming out from everywhere. I remember this lady that lived behind here, she was screaming, what do I do with my kids? I mean, she was panicking. I mean,
the neighbors were frightened that their houses were going to blow up.
It just affected everybody that
Nobody
knew. Everybody was scared, like, what's going on?
Nobody wanted to go inside their house. Nobody knew if they should be outside of their house.
On the ladder, I remember that I know exactly what I was doing. I put the ladder up and I climbed up there, and the ladder was only this wide, literally. And I had my big yellow boots on because we're working in the mud. And I remember climbing up, and she was walking back and forth, and I remember grabbing her by her nightgown and pulling her towards me. And I actually carried her down the ladder. Like, I grabbed her and put her on the ladder and carried her down, put her over my shoulder and carried her to the street.
Just as they put the ladder up, the smoke started to swirl and envelop her. They disappeared for a second, and then all of a sudden I could see the guy helping her down the ladder.
Is it fair to say, if you guys wouldn't have done what you did, nobody else would have done it?
I don't think anybody else would have done it, yeah.
So
it was those
I mean, they were here. We were 2 blocks away.
It was like everybody was frozen. No one knew what to do.
It was so fast.
I mean, we ran from down there to here, and when we got here, to the time we got her down was probably within a minute or 2 minutes. Wow. And it's just like if there was no more time.
Probably a minute after they got her down the ladder is when the unit just completely enveloped in flames. Wow. Yeah, it was really scary. I was thinking I'm gonna watch this lady die because she wouldn't jump and they couldn't get up to her. But boy, I'll tell you, those guys in the nick of time got that ladder up and got her out.
The house that used to be there looked like this house here with all the brick. It's about 2.5 stories, and when the explosion occurred, all the bricks were gone. And as you can see in the middle of this house here, the rest of her house was also gone. If you look up in that tree, there's still shingles that blew up there, and they're still up in there. I mean, you could see there's still old marks here, so you know it was located. It's not like you know, it wasn't located, and they were just like, oh, you know, we won't wait for him. The reason we were here fixing the cable was because the contractor for the village had cut our cable in half while they were digging, putting in water lines. And prior to that, a week before, or 4 days, they cut Commonwealth Edison's line. And then now you're talking those two, and then after that, another gas line we knew Nicor was out here for, and then a second gas line. So this contractor, within a block radius, has damaged 4 underground facilities that were located. A lot of them have the mindset that it's cheaper just to hit our cable and get the job done faster and then pay for us to fix our cable than to take the time to actually hand dig. I made sure she was okay. She was in the ambulance. It backed up. And then you see us in the video, we just go right back in the tent to finish our job. And then we're standing out there, and I thought it was strange because no one's coming by us. No one. And the locator actually comes up to him and says, hey, I just want to thank you. And he goes, no, 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 it was him. And he goes, well, I want to thank both of you guys because I couldn't do what you guys did. It was all because somebody didn't take the time to hand dig around something. Maybe the village does need to be notified when there is a utility cut if there's not. Because if they would have been notified the power was cut, then they would have been notified that the phone was cut. Maybe the gas would have never been cut because they would have said, listen, you guys either need to hand dig and do the job right, or, you know, get out of here and we'll get someone else. Because it's just more times than not when you're asking these contractors, and they're not the same contractors. There's ones that are all over. You're asking them, how did you hit this cable and then you hit this one? And they go, because it's faster for us to use our machines because, I mean, maybe utilities aren't charging enough to fix it. Maybe we should just charge a lot more so they know if we hit it, it's going to cost us more than we're going to make.
It's a little emotional, it really is.
Yeah. It was a happy ending. So it could have been worse. I mean, a lot of other things could have happened that day. You know, not only for her, but for us. I mean, we could have walked into something that exploded again, or, I mean, the more you think about it, but I don't know, hopefully this will teach somebody that, you know, if you just take your time on your job, you might not kill somebody. So that's a little extra time. I mean, could save a life.
Gareth Carpenter and Ron Shockley had no idea what choices that day would bring. These two men faced that dare to be situation and decided to take action rather than sit on the sidelines and watch. Because of that decision to act, what could have been an unfortunate outcome resulted in only minor injuries and some unsteady nerves. For this decision to act tonight, the Village of Park Forest, the Park Forest Fire Department recognize these men for their quick thinking and heroism on behalf of others. If you'd like to say anything, gentlemen? No?
Well, my name's Ron Shockley. I have 15 years with AT&T. You know.
Oh, is it? Oh, Gareth Carpenter, 12 years AT&T.
Yeah.
That was probably bad. We meant to do that again.
Redo.